MANTOOLS is brought to you by
EXO Auto Works. EXO Auto Works is Colorado Springs' home of the $50 synthetic blend oil change. Call now, 719-375-3232, or visit exoautoworks.com to make your appointment.
Madrid Maintenance. Madrid Maintenance offers excellent handyman service in the Colorado Springs area, starting at just $45 an hour. You can reach them by phone at 719-963-2020 or online at facebook.com/Madrid Maintenance.
Enharmonic Studios. Enharmonic Studios is a hybrid digital analog facility designed to be quality and affordable to anyone who wants to make history. Call today, 719-963-2020, or go to facebook.com/Enharmonic Studios.
Live from EXO Auto Works, streaming all over the world.
We're coming for you, globalist!
It's your weekly dose of toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity.
With Eric Madrid and Trevor Lane. It's MANTOOLS.
Good evening, everybody. As you can see, Eric is not here yet, but he did text me and said that he's running late. So we should see him sometime soon. In the meantime, we have a great show for you. We have an awesome guest tonight. I'm just going to get into it. I'm not going to bore you with my week of back injuries and chiropractic visit today, and the fact that luckily it only hurts when I'm sitting, standing, or lying down, and all that nonsense. I am going to go ahead and just bring in our guest, and we are going to get right into it. Please welcome Joey Borrello, the author of Koma, A Search for Meaning and Masculinity in the 21st Century. And hopefully, Joey, I pronounced all of that correctly.
That's correct. Thank you for
Awesome.
having me. Was that
Thank you.
Wheeler Walker Jr. in the intro?
Yes, it was. Yes.
Let me some Wheeler Walker Jr.
Yeah, he's he's fun. So, I guess let's start with kind of the 1,000-foot overview of you, and then we'll get into your book.
Sure. So I think my sort of biography intertwines with this book pretty well. It's the story of my life from around 18 to 24. I'm 26 now. And it starts off as me in college, and I really don't know what to do. I had kind of a strange upbringing. I went to several different schools. I went to a kind of hippy-dippy school and a Catholic school and a public school. And so I was very much like anything goes, very open-minded, but not very guided. So when I was in college, I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. And one day it all just came to me. Not one day. I mean, the way I tell it in the story is one day I'm like really freaking out because I don't know what I want to do. And it occurs to me that I never had like a coming of age ritual, and how cultures before us used to recognize that it's really important that you go from like child to adult and you sort of have some idea of what you're supposed to do. And our culture is just sort of like, you get drunk for 4 years and you party and you take some classes where you don't learn anything.
Well, I was going to say I guess the closest substitute now would be a high school graduation.
Yeah. I think we
But
have.
even that isn't quite a, you're an adult now. It's more good luck.
Yeah, exactly. It is good luck. And I think that says like something about how our culture doesn't really believe in guidance. We just sort of believe in like you're on your own. There are boundaries. There's very clear like restrictions on what you can do, but you're sort of left alone to figure out what they are. And so I was complaining to my friends one day in college, and I had a friend named Gigs who did have such a ritual, and the ritual is called Koma. It's this secret ritual in South Africa where boys, whenever they're ready, you can be 10 years old, you could be 50 years old, it doesn't really matter. You're not considered a man until after you do the ritual. They go off in the mountains and they have to do something. It's a secret exactly what they do out there, but after you go to the mountains, it's understood that you've faced the challenge, and now you can handle the inevitable challenges that life is going to throw at you later. So you no longer have people taking care of you. You're now competent, and you take care of the tribe. And I was like, that is so cool. I wish I had something like that. Can I go to Koma and take this? And my friend said, you don't want to do that. I wouldn't put my son through it. It's incredibly brutal. And I thought that's true of a lot of coming of age rituals, is that they're really brutal. So I'm wondering, is there a coming of age ritual for the modern world? And this book is basically my attempt to give myself a ritual. It's the best I could do. And the hope is that people read it and they get inspired, and then they try to improve upon what I did and try to make a better coming of age ritual.
That's interesting. Yeah. Out of curiosity, and this may not have come up, but with the Koma ritual, are there consequences for not achieving whatever they go out there? Like, is it a everybody that goes out there comes back a man, or is it like, well, some people come back and they're still a fucking boy?
Oh, that doesn't really happen. What happens is, as far as I know, if you don't do it, you're forever considered, they call it leshabora, which means something like unworthy little boy who's not ready to take on the responsibilities of being a man. Everyone who goes there, like Giggs was telling me, some people die, some people come back just ruined forever, and some people come out of it ready. And he came out of it ready. And another thing that I liked about Koma specifically was that it's not about indoctrinating the kid. It's not about saying, this is what we believe, now do it. It's about saying, can you be a competent, there is a woman rituals. Can you be a competent person, a man in this case? And then when you come back, you get to decide, do I want to be a part of this culture or not? And I think that's essential, because so many people, we're a diverse group of people. And so I think it's good to you have an idea of what's expected of you, how you can contribute to the tribe. But if you want to go make your own path, you're now able to go make your own path if you give yourself this challenge, and you're now a more competent person.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, so I guess the people that aren't successful are the ones that die.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why, like, I was
That's
super,
rough.
like, I was so like enamored by this ritual. I was like, whoa, can I have like an exception? Can I be an honorary Koma undertaker? And my friend was like, you don't want to do that. You have no idea how brutal it can get. I might be repeating myself, but he said, I wouldn't put my son through it. I was like, whoa, that's intense.
That's yeah. That's interesting, because they're, like you kind of said, as a there's not like an American or a, I don't know, there's not like an American version of that, but there are religious coming of age things. Like, I was raised Lutheran, so I did confirmation.
Mhm.
And as far as the church was concerned, after that, I was an adult. And, the big privilege was that my mom finally said, you don't have to go to church every Sunday if you don't want to. You can choose to be a sinner and go to hell if you want. And, and then, like, within groups like the Boy Scouts, we, or at least a within the Boy Scouts, there's something called the Order of the Arrow that you can choose to join, and to become the initial stage of that is actually called an ordeal member, and you have to go through something called an ordeal, which I don't think any of this is secret. I think they make a point of making it all public now, but it's basically a camping trip where the people going through the ordeal don't get to like have a tent. They're not allowed to talk to anyone. They basically go off by themselves, and like every once in a while someone comes and checks on you or whatever, but you're expected to basically go off by yourself, get a fire going. Food's provided, but you have to sit there and like cook for yourself. And the big challenge the whole time is you're not supposed to talk to anybody. You're supposed to remain silent. The exception being like a loss of life or limb emergency. Obviously, then, you know, hey, this guy cut his foot off. Okay, you can scream and, you know, tell somebody. Or, you know, this dude's fire is out of control. He's setting the forest on fire or something crazy like that. Then, yeah. But
Is there like a spiritual element to that where it's all about reflection and you're not talking?
yeah, they borrow a lot from, actually they borrow heavily from the novel Last of the Mohicans. And so they use a lot of East Coast Native American,
Techniques.
like, you know, it's a secular organization, so they don't get into, you know, like there's no official religion for the Boy Scouts. But they do try to bring in kind of a spiritual, like you should reflect and meditate kind of a thing into that. But obviously, if you aren't a Boy Scout and don't choose to go into the Order of the Arrow, once you are, you'll never experience that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's really cool. I think part of this touches on something we were talking about earlier, that two elements to this is that one, if you're always chasing masculinity, it's not good for you, it's not good for society, and it's just kind of self-destructive. It's like, okay, I need a bigger car and I 20-inch biceps or whatever. That road can go on forever. I touch on it. But if you just sort of sit back and let it happen, then that's very unfulfilling. And I think that's kind of where we are as a culture, that we, even rituals like bar mitzvahs, confirmation, arranged marriages, those can give clarity, but they usually don't, because the kid is living in a culture that's much, much broader and much more chaotic than the culture that those rituals were developed for. So if they really if they only want to stick to that particular culture, then that ritual can work. But I think they usually don't, because there's a lot going on in their head. So I think that's kind of where we are, that we need a little bit more than a confirmation or a bar mitzvah. But also something that I realized in this ritual is that ultimately you never actually get to a point. You kind of do. You get to a point where you're like, I know I can do things and I know I've proved myself. But really what that means is I'm okay not thinking about this anymore, and now I'm just going to go about my life. That's the actual complete step. No grand elder chief is going to like give you a mark on your forehead and say like, okay, now you're officially a man. But what will happen is you feel satisfied enough where you're comfortable not thinking about it anymore. That's sort of where I ended up with this.
Right. Yeah. Where it's not, I guess that's no longer the achievement that you're looking for. You're now like, you know, if you've chosen a trade, it's like, well, now I want to be a master of my trade. You know, maybe you're an apprentice and you want to become, you know, the master blacksmith or whatever. You know, going back to kind of ancient old timey stuff.
Totally.
Which is another thing that's weird that like, but I think it's making a comeback. The idea of like just apprenticing in a trade. Yeah. That's a foreign concept to most people. Although like if you run in kind of my circle, you'll see memes that that are pretty good that talk about the difference between going into a trade and like going to college. Like one of the one of the best ones is it shows kind of a soy boy type guy, and it says, this is Philip or whatever the name they give him. He got he has a master's degree in philosophy and has like $400,000 worth of student debt. Has never worked in a job because you can't really get a job with a philosophy degree. And then on the right, it shows this guy grinning ear to ear with a hard hat on, and it's like, this is Jim. Jim, went to electrician trade school and then apprenticed for a year, and now he's coming to turn off Philip's power because he can't pay the bill.
Funny. Yeah, and I think I actually touch on this in the book. I'll kind of give away the ending. The book ends with me in Korea, which was the first place I went after college, and I'm realizing guys in Korea just sort of are allowed to be guys, and what's interesting is that it's not like in America where you have some guys who are just like gorillas, and then you have some guys who are kind of soy boys. Korea, it's just sort of normal. It's just sort of normal guys, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about philosophy and oh yeah. And I get to the point where I'm like, my ultimate dream is that this book, like young guys don't need to go off in very far places to sort of like remember who they are and have some big ritual. It would be much nicer if we just fell into the roles of masculinity. And I think trade schools is a great step towards doing that, because so many kids are like, I hate college. It's just like a propaganda factory. I'm not going to actually learn anything. It's just I have to go in debt in order to get a job that will pay the bills, but it actually won't pay the bills because I'll be too in debt.
Right.
And I think trade school would be such a good antidote to that, where you're saying, yeah, learn for a couple of years, learn electrician school, you'll pay the bill.
And a lot of trade schools, instead of being in debt, because you learn by doing, you can actually start making a little bit of money at some of these trade schools. They'll put you on jobs. You know what I mean? So,
so this is sort of your world a little bit more than mine, but I'm curious, like, what are the trades that we're lacking in America? Like, I know plumbing, they say there's not enough plumbers. Airline.
Well, Eric would be more informed to speak on this.
Okay.
But my general sense is there's like almost a fear of work that's generally being, kind of, I think, propagandized into kids. That's part of the appeal that they give for going to college. Well, you want to work your ass off, or do you just want to go to an office? And it's like, well, what's wrong with doing some work?
So it's not so much about we're missing one trade like plumbers or electricians or whatever. It's more generalized.
That could be going on as well, but I would probably say, just anecdotally, I don't have numbers to back this up or anything, that it's probably more that just young people are being discouraged from going into the trades in general. I mean, there are some exceptions and people trying to work against that. Mike Rowe, who used to host Dirty Jobs, is a great example. He has some kind of, he has like because he doesn't want to bill it as like anti-college quite, but it's a pro-trades like foundation that gives out grants to help people pay for going to trade school, which is great. And like even what was I thinking of where you could get paid? Oh, cosmetology. If you do something like that, you can get paid while you're like, I used to go get cheap haircuts from the barber school because, it's cheap. The students need to learn. Yeah, maybe your haircut once in a while is kind of fucked up, but, usually before it gets to that point, an instructor can come in and like help them out.
That's funny. You get 10% off, but maybe they like totally shave off half your head or something.
Yeah, I mean, they're learning. And they typically they don't let them work on customers before they're ready to do it. But from what I understand, those guys get at least a little bit of what's being paid for the haircuts, and you can tip them. I've never been to one where they're like, "Oh, no tipping." So that's another, like, instead of going into debt, obviously, some of this stuff is not going to pay for the whole thing, but you'll at least pick up a little bit of scratch, and instead of coming out with a giant student loan, you'll be set up better. Which is always that's always my argument when people talk about salaries. Well, college education makes a bigger salary. I'm like, yeah, but if you start with that bigger salary, but you're $200,000 in debt, that salary gets eaten up real quick.
Plus interest, so you don't really get rid of it after you make 200,000. It keeps going. And I think what you said about trade, that's really valuable, because I think part of what sort of causes this despair in young men of like, I don't know what to do and I feel useless, is that there's not that much for them to do. And I think being a part of a community, having value to the community, that's way more of a, I mean, I fully believe in going off to the mountains and having a big challenge and everything, but that's a temporary thing. What really matters is, can you go back into society and feel at peace? And so like trades is a great like long-term solution for this.
Yeah. Like you mentioned earlier, or maybe we weren't on the air yet, but you talked about the single women that are doing PR jobs, or anything like that. Well, okay, what does that do for society as a whole? Does it put anybody in a house? Does it repair the house that they have that maybe has an issue? Does it put them in a car? Does it fix the car that maybe has a problem? No. Generally speaking, it sells them shit that they don't need or want.
Have you ever heard of a book called Bullshit Jobs by David Graeber?
I have not, but that sounds awesome.
I would love this book so much. David Graeber was a character. He was an anarchist. He was a economic theory kind of guy. And he realized that if he told people, he was an anthropologist too. He said, I'm an anthropologist. Everyone would be super interested, and they would be like, whoa, you go off to faraway places and you interview tribes about like their living situation. That's so cool. And then he would say, well, what do you do? And everyone would be like, it's whatever. And he said, but if you really ask them, so many times he would get the answer, yeah, my job doesn't actually accomplish anything. It's total. And he really did a deep dive, and he realized that, I forget the percentage, but a really, really high percentage, I think maybe over half of the American workforce has a job that, if the job didn't exist, the company and definitely society would not change at all. And I think this is, again, I mean, people say, oh, lucky them, they don't get to work and they make money. Maybe. But I think more what that does is it just sort of tortures people, and they're like, I have to pretend to be useful, but I'm not useful. And I think that's really, really antithetical.
Well, I've taken some flack because obviously this quote is attributed to the concentration camp at Auschwitz, but I think and the way they used it was different. But I think there is some truth to the idea that work sets you free.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
I have
put aside the Nazi thing.
We're gonna forget. We're gonna say, okay, the Nazis fucked it up. They fucked up Nietzsche too. So we're gonna say we can have the German play. Work makes you free. Okay, I don't really know much about.
Well, I mean, their thing was telling these poor Jews that they brought there that your work will set you free, when they had no plans of doing so. But
right.
I view it more philosophically. Like, for example, we're talking about these jobs where you don't actually produce anything. Well, how do you get fulfilled by that? Like, how do you feel accomplished? How do you feel, I mean, you get a pat on the back for selling the most widgets or whatever, but you didn't build the widgets. I think the guy that built the widgets probably feels more satisfied after a day at the widget factory,
I would just,
Then
I mean,
the guy that gets the big bonus for selling them, you know.
could I just say that I know that because I'm writing a book about masculinity, people are going to lump me into the manosphere and Nazism. So I would just like to say I'm not a Nazi and I don't support the Arbeit macht frei slogan. But
Sure.
The sort of German sentiment that work is a virtue in and of itself, and you can work your ass off. To some degree, I can get down with that. I think oftentimes that makes people work when it's not necessary, and they can't enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, like,
But you need something. Most people, I think, are suited to contribute to society and
Right.
work hard, and you believe in it. That's fantastic.
and if you can see something that's like, oh, someone's going to buy this and benefit from it, or you know, whatever. I think there's probably more of a sense of satisfaction and accomplishment than there is from, you know, I did a really good job trading stocks today.
Yeah, that's true. I was gonna say something. I forgot what it was. Sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Well, we got time for probably 2 topics, and then we always end with the week in his story. So I will let you pick. We can do some news. We can do what we call cool stuff. We can do tools of the week, or we can do what's pissing us off.
Ooh. Oh man, I was definitely thinking cool stuff, but what's pissing us off?
Well, I have some things about propagandizing to children.
Yeah.
That's kind of the theme of what I've seen a
Let's-
couple of these things this week, and it's pissed me off. So I wanted to talk about it.
So really quick, before one last thing on the book, that's what I was gonna say is
Sure.
about finding work that matters to you. The final chapter deals with this idea that it would be optimal if you found a job it fits your personality, it exploits your skills, it makes good money, and you're proud of it. That's awesome. However, jobs like that become fewer and fewer all the time. So I don't think we should have this standard that if you don't get a job like that, you're somehow failing. I think society is really good at destroying that kind of life of I'm proud of my work. So I think something that I end on in the book is that I think we need to try more locally and more, maybe not locally. We need to try to look elsewhere. We need to try to contribute to society in ways that actually matter, because trying to contribute to the system, maybe that'll work for some people, but I don't think it's a very good solution.
Have you read any of Jack Donovan's work?
No.
The Way of Men is the kind of starting point, I think, for anybody to read his stuff. But he really gets into that. It goes into maybe it wasn't The Way of Men. Maybe it's later. But in one of his books, he goes into great detail about contributing to what he calls the empire of nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, oof, you're hitting some nails on the head there, Jack.
Anyway, and the last point is, I think what I said, maybe we should look elsewhere. This ties into the final message of the book, is that I'm not a guru, like, at all. I know some people who pretend to be gurus say I'm not, like, I'm really not a guru. I'm a guy who did some stuff, thought I had a cool story, and wrote a book about it. But the ultimate message of the book is, I think a very common pain and despair of not being allowed to be a person and a man. This was the best I could do. Now it's your turn. Try to do better. Try to build upon what I did. I think it ties into the same message of let's look elsewhere for meaning and purpose and that kind of.
Right. Yeah. All
Anyway,
right. Well,
let's do what's pissing us off, because I am in fact an English teacher in Thailand, and one of my favorite things about Thailand, I've taught English in a couple places, but what I love about Thailand is that the kids are so well put together and funny, and I really enjoy, like, you know, they play a lot of Roblox and they're on bullshit social media or whatever, but they're like they're a little bit more intact as people, and I'm
Okay.
sure it's for American kids. So yeah, let's do what's pissing
All
us
right,
off.
let's do what's pissing us off.
Fuck off, you son of a bitch.
All right. Well, you may be pissed off, but that's not a reason to get your panties in a bunch. Especially if you get some luxury underwear from MÓNGATA Lifestyle. These underwear are great. They're the only underwear on the market that has a sized pouch for your pouch, if that makes sense. And they have a patent pending condom pocket. So you can plan your parenthood, so to speak. Check them out by going to MÓNGATA, that's spelled MANGATA, lifestyle.com, and use the code MANTOOLS for 20% off. All right. So now let's let's get into what's pissing us off.
Good.
Let's see here. All right, so this is just a little synopsis that I found on I believe it was on Reddit, with the title "We're not coming for your children," or "We're not trying to get your youth," something like "We're not coming for the youth." So it's a couple of examples of kid shows that are blatantly like have an agenda-driven message. So we'll have a look at these.
The way I feel most myself is to go by the name Fred. That's because I'm non-binary.
Slaves built this country, and we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering and continue to earn reparations.
From our Sesame Street family to yours, happy Pride! Elmo loves you.
So we saw
Because I have take on this. I'm sure that what most people will say is that that's horrible because it's sort of ruining kids' innocence and it's making them political and it's making them confused. That's true, but I think that cartoons and sort of the content that we give to kids is kind of supposed to indoctrinate kids. That's a negative word, but it's supposed to sort of bring them into the culture. Like Bugs Bunny had that cartoon in World War II where he's like, we hate the Japanese. And that was very much like the cultural idea at the time. And so and also my kids, they do all these ceremonies where they indoctrinate the kid. So why it pisses me off is not because of the main reason of it's ruining kids' innocence, but I think it is performing a purpose of bringing kids into our culture. The sad part is that that's our culture. That is
our culture's garbage. Yeah. And like, I can't disagree with any of what you just said, but I will point out, I just realized the thought that I had. Bugs Bunny wasn't meant for kids originally.
Really?
Those newsreels were, or those cartoons were played, I think, in between the newsreel and like the feature film, typically. And sure, kids go to movies, but cartoons back then were not explicitly a kids thing. That came later, kind of with TV and the Saturday morning cartoon phenomenon. So, which is also like when people are like, "Well, Bugs Bunny was in drag." It's like, yeah, but he actually wasn't meant for a child audience.
This, like, again, in Thailand, there's a big drag culture, and it's kind of not a big deal. This is a personal opinion of mine, is that Thailand is winning in the whole transgender thing. They got like one big third category, and there might be a fourth of women who become men. I'm not sure, but basically, there's just like they're a separate thing. They just accept. Sometimes you feel like you're born in the wrong body, and that's kind of it. And for the most part, they're just a respected additional category of society. Some people mistreat them.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's cool. And then they're done. they don't have to think about it after that. They're just like, okay, you're cool.
And I think that's how it should be. The flip to that though is that we have cartoons that go, I'm non-binary.
Yeah,
It's like that's not necessary either.
Planting the idea. That's interesting about Bugs Bunny. So the idea is like you're going to see a Marilyn Monroe movie or something, and then you have a newsreel like, today troops marched on Poland.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny is comic relief, and then it's the movie.
And then the movie, yeah, I believe so. I believe that was the typical order.
Okay.
Yeah. Another weird thing, a totally off the wall, idiotic fact as opposed to a fun fact. The reason they call trailers is because they used to come at the end of the movie, but everyone would get up and leave. So now they play them at the beginning of the movie because you're still, you're forced to wait through them now. But they used to trail the movie. All right. These idiots. I don't know where you stand on any environmental issues, but do you think blocking traffic and gluing yourself to the road is a good idea to protest it?
I will give them this. I think that, again, our culture is very good at not hearing what you have to say. And if you're like, every day industry is fucking up the earth more and more, and we tried politics, we tried social media, everyone sort of agrees it's a bad thing and we're not doing anything, you go to the extreme. However, if I was driving and someone was like, the environment or whatever, yeah, that would piss me off. So I'm not too sure where I stand on this one.
Well, hang on. I had it in my little Google Drive thing, I thought, and now it's not there. So I'm going to try to get, here we go. Well, oh, okay. I know what I'm missing. This was actually under my tools of the week, which they are tools.
Airport runway.
So we'll do this. We'll go back to that. This isn't so much pissing me off, but I just wanted to get a laugh at these guys. So they started by like super gluing themselves, I guess. But the cops were just like grabbing them and yanking them off of the road, so it would tear the skin off. So they started like concreting themselves down.
Holy shit.
Oh, so the cops removed them by like digging up the road.
Yeah, so now when they get removed, they have to dig up the road. So I guess these two people are going to have their hands amputated because they can't get that stuff like off of there.
Well, if that'll test their convictions. If they really believe in the industry, they're willing to lose it.
So yeah, that wasn't supposed to be in the pissing me off, but since I mentioned it, I decided to show it.
So I think I do see that I see these things about people gluing their hands and shouting for them, and it does really seem to piss people off. It doesn't bother me that much. The general breakdown of society bothers me, but these environmentalists, not really. But I am curious if they piss you off. Yeah, but why?
Well, if I was trying to like get to work and they were in my way, that would definitely piss me off. So, all right. And then we'll end with this one. This is a teacher who made a nice little children's book called What's an Abortion Anyway? Because, kindergartners need to know about this.
What did you learn, Teddy? Oh, I learned a lot about what an abortion is anyway. Hi, friends. Welcome to Queer Kid Stuff. I'm Linz, and I'm Teddy. And this is my best stuff friend, Teddy. What is an abortion anyway? Some people have an abortion. An abortion is when someone decides to stop growing their pregnancy. Abortion is very safe, and millions of people have abortions every year all around the world. No matter how someone has an abortion, everyone should be able to decide the way that is best for them. I think so too. Some people have abortions because they like their family exactly as it is. People have many different feelings before, during, and after their abortion. Some people feel happy or calm. I just learned so much about what abortions are from What's an Abortion Anyway?
Yup, that one pisses me off a lot. I've been several places where they indoctrinate kids either politically or otherwise, and that one doesn't bother me as much, but it's the fact that that lady clearly has like her own shit going on, and she's bringing this super adult, and she's disguising it as like as an innocent thing of like, oh, it's just an abortion. It's like getting a health checkup or some shit. That's really fucked up because the kid's going to grow up and be like, oh, there's so much behind this that I didn't know, and will probably start with abortion.
And I think this is one of those things where it doesn't matter how you feel about abortion, whether you're pro-life, pro-choice, you can see this and go, what the fuck? Like, what are you doing?
Especially if like the kid just escaped an abortion, for fuck's sake, and then yeah. And I'm not like I don't know where I'm at with the pro-life, pro-choice. I was pro-life, and then I had a pregnancy scare, and that really shook me. And you know, but so I think I'm like most Americans. I'm like, it's fucked up, but some situations, you know, but yeah, that's really wrong to be like,
yeah,
that lady is doing. Yeah.
All right. Well, that is what pissed me off this week.
That's so to recap. So we had the cartoon.
The cartoon.
That says a lot about where we are as a culture. The other one was the environmentalists, and then the abortion lady. Yeah. That fucked up. And again, I know because I'm writing a book about masculinity, people are gonna say Joey is like Richard Spencer, like every negative of a right-wing person, they're gonna throw it at me. I don't really know where I stand on abortion, to be honest. I have a lot of sympathy for the idea that it's fucked up and that you have really complicated situations. So I don't know, but fuck that lady. That's really wrong to teach about.
We can agree on that. All right, and then we're getting low on time, so we'll just skip forward to the week in history, and then we'll get out of here. So.
Comes to his end in the gutter, fitting climax to a life.
In first and the flank, get it started. It's fired and it's fired.
Look what Trevor found.
I found a co-host.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
So this week in history is brought to you by His Story. Sorry, I got to say it right. Smith & Bradley men's watches. A life well lived deserves a watch well worn. And the best place to get those is with Smith & Bradley. So go to smithandbradley.mantoolsmedia.com and get, I don't know, you can get pretty much anything that you could think of as far as watches. I got this nice little field watch, but they have like diving watches, ones that look like fancy Rolexes, but not for nearly that kind of a price. And they all come with a lifetime warranty, and they're fucking killer. All right. This week in his story, I'm just going to do this. There we go. August 3rd, 1977. Radio Shack unveils the TRS-80 personal computer, thus cementing what would be the 1977 trinity of personal computers along with the Apple and the Commodore. However, the price and Radio Shack's established retail presence makes it a bestseller for several years over the competition. And that probably has a whole, what do you think? A kilobyte, maybe?
Nah.
What do you think, 16?
I think it had like
32?
16 megabytes.
Yeah.
It had 8 megabytes of RAM. It's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see. August 4th, 1952. Helicopters from the U.S. Air Force Air Rescue Service land in Germany, completing the first transatlantic flight by helicopter, taking 51 hours and 55 minutes of flight time.
Oof.
That's more than 4 days in a helicopter.
Yeah.
That sounds brutal.
I mean, as long as it had a tailgate to open, you could just, hang your ass out the back. But I'm pretty sure that thing smelled like feet and regret.
Yeah. I don't know. Was that back when airplane toilets were just holes?
That's what I'm saying. I'm pretty sure there's
just bombs away.
That thing's that does not come complete with facilities.
Let's see. August 5th, 1962. You mentioned Marilyn Monroe earlier. Marilyn Monroe dies under mysterious circumstances.
Just Clinton.
I don't know. A suicide after sleeping with both of the Kennedys. I'm not sure how mysterious that is. She must have known some shit.
Yeah.
Let's see. August 6th, 1888. Theodophilus Van Cannel of Philadelphia receives a patent for the revolving door, and that is not the right picture.
Yeah.
That's the wrong kind of door.
This one? No. All right. Well, August 8th, 1974, President Richard Nixon. Nope. I'm skipping ahead again. August 7th. Shit. I don't have this one for the year. Some year. Stevie Wonder goes into a coma after being in a car accident. Which begs the question, who let him drive?
It was very superstitious.
All right. Now, August.
He was on his phone just texting to say, I love you.
Yeah.
August 8th, 1974. Richard Nixon resigns from the presidency as a result of the Watergate scandal. And he was kind of, I would call him the third assassination of the 60s, but they kind of got the picture between Martin Luther King and Kennedy. Well, I guess you could count Malcolm X. Maybe he was a fourth, but it was like, straight up murdering these people gets some blowback.
Yeah.
maybe we can just make him not be in charge anymore. Okay, we'll do that.
Somebody over there at the CIA was like, "Whoa, guys, we might want to slow down on this."
And finally, August 9th, 1936. Oh, there's the revolving door. Cool. I don't know how that got out of order. Let's see. August 9th, 1936. Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals in track and field events at the Berlin Olympics.
Dominated.
And it's interesting that he's up there with a Japanese fella and a German, because we're not going to be too friendly in a couple of years.
That's right. That's right.
All right, that brings us to the end of the week in his story, and unfortunately, it's also the end of our show.
You know what's the funny part about that picture? Watch, throw that back up. At this point in history, everybody was looking at these jackwagons going, that's a little funny salute. That's new.
Yeah.
You guys are a little odd over there, a little kooky.
Well, there's a wild video of the
Man, look at Jesse like saluting it up right in the middle of all
yeah.
this.
Yeah. There's a crazy video of the funeral of the people killed in the Hindenburg. And obviously it's a German, so a lot of Germans. So the families came over here to like get the bodies or whatever, and it's a bunch of, they're sobbing and going like this. Which is an odd, I don't know, it's just an odd image, and of course at that point we didn't really think that much of it,
No,
I mean, Hitler was Times Person of the Year or Man of the Year back then,
Yep.
like the year before, so.
It's just they were a bunch of little kooky Germans.
Yeah.
That they were looking for Kyle.
I wonder if there's something like that today where it's like there's some weird TikTok dance that all the kids are doing, and then in 5 years it's gonna be like, I love the Chinese Communist Party or something.
Yeah, it's gonna be bizarre.
Well, they tried to rob the OK symbol, but they didn't quite.
Yeah, they didn't
They
pull
didn't
that off.
quite get the traction that they thought it. It's white power. It's like, what?
They came close.
Are you fucking
I got
high?
fired. Like I got
Yeah,
fired.
every once in a while you'll still see a news story where like so and so slips in a white power gesture, and it's like, no, that's either the OK, or if you do it like this, it's the if you look, I get to hit you in the nuts.
That's the rack and tap.
Could I say one thing before we go about the
Sure.
book?
Absolutely.
I think glossed over the best part, which is that it does deal with sort of life lessons and philosophy. I interviewed a Vietnamese soldier who fought against the Americans in his own commune. So there's kind of thinky stuff like that. But more of what it is just like really cool stories. I think that's the direction that my editor and I wanted to take it from. So I think even if you're 60 years old or a woman, I think it definitely has like a bunch of really entertaining stuff. So I hope it doesn't come off as just it's only for men 18 to 24. It's definitely for everyone, and it's entertaining as well as kind of ambitious.
And you can find that book on Amazon. There's wherever you're watching this or listening, there should already be a link in the description. As long as I didn't pull a revolving door image and not put it in there, but I think I got everywhere.
Yeah. Not like last time where you sent everybody to your OnlyFans.
Gotta drive up traffic. Speaking of OnlyFans,
Amazon.com and type in Koma, Koma, Joey Borrello, then it'll pop up.
you'll find it. But speaking of OnlyFans, where can folks who want to get in touch with you get in touch with you?
I'm not really a public figure. I'm on LinkedIn at Joey
I noticed that you didn't really have any social media.
I'm on LinkedIn, Joey Borrello, Borrello, and I guess I'll give you my my email. It's jborrello, JBORRELLO at dons dons.usfca.edu. That's my college.
All right.
You got something to talk about? You want to book me on a podcast? You want to talk about the book? I'm down.
Awesome. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Yeah, this was
I'm
great.
really sorry I missed it. I had stuff to talk to you about. Like Trevor sent me 99% of the time. Trevor sends me the links. I'm like, cool. I'll get ambushed. And I was reading about all the stuff here. I was like, oh yeah, I got some cool stories. Like, sorry, bud. Traffic was a beast. I honestly don't think the dude on the motorcycle made it.
Ooh.
So,
ooh.
Yeah.
That's rough.
That's rough. Right near the Tasty Freeze.
Well.
Yeah. So it's a weird day. Be safe out there, everybody, because you never know. And be cool, because, like I say, you never know if it's going to be your last day.
Yeah. And double check your mirrors. Speaking of motorcycles.
Jeez.
Yeah,
well, all right, man.
By a truck last week because I wasn't paying attention. I was here. I'm okay. Let me just move over. Oh shit. Boom.
Jeez.
Life moves fast.
Well, all right, man. We appreciate having you hang out with us, and everybody pick up the book, and we will see you all next week. Oh, coming out tomorrow, especially now that Eric's here, we will be watching a movie for ManTools at the Movies. It will be Eric's choice. So it'll either be about circumcision or divorce, whichever one you want.
Either way, you're losing part of your soul.
So
and it's expensive.
All right.
And it horribly scars you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. So be on the lookout for that, and we will be back next week. Good night, everybody. Where's my credits? There they are. All right.
Thank you, guys. This was a blast.